everyone, and welcome to Royal Albert Home. We're really happy to welcome you into our home for today's concert. I'm Alexandra, I play the violin.
I'm Alex and I play the trumpet.
And you'd usually see us at opposite sides of the orchestra. I sit with the strings at the front of the orchestra, and Alex would normally be found with the brass section towards the back of the orchestra. But today it's just the two of us, and we're going to play you a programme of duets for violin and trumpet, which hopefully will show you what wonderful instruments these two are.
So, our first two pieces are by an Italian composer from the 1600s called Fantini. He was, as well as being famous for composing, he was a very famous trumpet player. And actually he wrote a book on how to play the trumpet, the method of how to play in a warlike way, as well as music. So, two short pieces by Fantini, Corsi and Corsini. Cool, so in that piece, you'll notice I was playing this funny little trumpet, which is known as a piccolo trumpet. Now these were only invented at the beginning of the 1900s, and they were invented specifically to play that really high music by composers like Fantini and Purcell and Bach. Those originally would be played on what was known as a Baroque trumpet, which is a really long trumpet without valves. And the trumpet players at the time were just absolutely brilliant at playing this high stuff. And so we needed something to make us really accurate and musical in that register. And so, so we play the piccolo trumpet nowadays when we play that style of music.
So our next piece stays with the Italian theme. There's a bit of an Italian thread running through our concert for you today. But we're going to jump forward 200 years into the 1800s, where a composer called Gatti was writing for trumpet. And this duet, the instruction at the beginning is to play it brilliantly fast. So hopefully we will. So the next piece of music that we're going to play for you is by someone you might have heard of. Fantini and Gatti are unusual trumpet composers. Music is flying everywhere. But our next chap who composed this piece is Mozart. Now Mozart wrote so much music, one of the most famous composers of all time. And as well as writing countless symphonies and concertos, massive orchestral works, pieces with choir, he also wrote loads of small pieces, chamber music, and he was also fond of a musical joke. And the next piece that we're going to play just shows how clever and what a genius Mozart was. Normally when we've got a piece of music, we have two lines, so Alex will play a line and I play a line, and we follow each other's lines as we go along. We can see both the lines. But in our next piece, you'll be able to see that there is only one line. I can hold it a bit closer to the camera. Just one line. And Mozart, in his amazing cleverness, realised that you could write a piece for one player to play that way that would also work for the other player to play upside down, like that. And so this is called a mirror canon, and we have to play it opposite each other with the music a bit on a table. So we've got a fancy music stand Alex has just put in place. And I'm going to read the music one way, Alex is going to read the music upside down, and it should sound like a lovely duet. Allegretto by Mozart. Introduce the next piece in our concert, I'd like to tell you a little bit about my violin, because my violin was made around the same time that that piece of Mozart was written. My violin was made in 1780, which I suppose means it's celebrating its 240th birthday at the moment. It was made in England by an English maker called Richard Duke Jr. And actually on the back it's even got the word Duke, so he inscribed his name on the violin. So my violin was made around the time that Mozart was writing. The next piece I'm going to play is just for me on my own and my violin, and it's by the composer Telemann, who was writing a bit before Mozart. He was writing in the Baroque era. Around that time it was really popular and has remained so ever since to write for solo violin, even though the lowest note that we have is a G. So the violin is a treble instrument. Composers have still found it really inspiring to write for that range from that G all the way upwards. And in the Baroque era, Johann Sebastian Bach was particularly famous for doing that in his 3 sonatas and 3 partitas that he wrote. However, Telemann was also wonderful at writing for solo violin, and in 1735 he published a series of fantasias for solo violin, and I'm going to play you 2 movements from his E-flat major fantasia. The first one is entitled Dolce, which means sweet, and then there's Allegro, which is fast.
Oh yeah.
We have a coin ready. So you decide. Heads or tails?
Tails.
Tails, you start. Heads, I start. It is heads. I will start. So here is a canon sonata by wonderful Telemann.
So, for our next piece, something completely different. We're going to play a traditional Irish tune called The Last Rose of Summer. So for that Telemann and the Gatti before it, I was playing on a C trumpet, which is my normal trumpet, that's what I use for most things. But for the next one, I'm going to play the third instrument that I'm going to use today. It's the flugelhorn. and you'll notice that it has a huge bell. And so the sound is really disparate, not like the trumpet that goes straight forward. And so this sounds really soft and mellow, and quite a lot of jazz musicians use the flugelhorn.
The next piece in our programme sort of takes us back to Italy, although it's actually by a Russian composer. So Tchaikovsky is a really famous composer for his ballet music. He wrote loads of amazing ballets. And the next piece we're going to play is from Swan Lake, one of those fantastic ballets. This is a famous trumpet tune that happens in the middle of the ballet, and it's called the Neapolitan Dance. Neapolitan meaning from Naples, which once upon a time was a kingdom of its own. You might have had Neapolitan ice cream, another very famous thing that comes from Naples. But this is Tchaikovsky's Neapolitan Dance, and Alex has changed instrument again, so while I found the music you can explain.
So this is my last new instrument, and this one you'll see is slightly shorter than the trumpet, and it's basically like a trumpet, but it's just a bit squashed together, and it starts, the tube starts slightly smaller, and the bell again is slightly wider, so it's a slightly sweeter, more disparate sound than the trumpet. Now this was invented in about 1820 in Paris, the cornet, and composers like Tchaikovsky and Berlioz like to use them in the orchestra to play fun tunes, because the trumpets of the time, they had loads of colour and loads of projection, but because they didn't have valves yet, they couldn't play these fun tunes. And so this tune from Swan Lake is originally a cornet tune.
to our folk theme next with a selection of tunes. Folk music is such a part of the heritage of so many places, and we've chosen a selection of British folk tunes, all of which are just favourites of ours, to put together in a duet to play for this concert. There are 4 tunes. The first one is The Wind That Shakes the Barley. The second one is the really well-loved Danny Boy. And then there's a tune called Harvest Home, and the medley finishes with Drowsy Maggie. So we have one more piece left for you in our concert today. It continues a bit with the folk theme actually, and also with our Italian theme, because we're going to return to Italy for our final piece. This piece is an arrangement of a tune, a folk tune from Italy, entitled The Carnival of Venice. There is a carnival in Venice at the start of every year, and this tune is also called The Carnival of Venice. It's been arranged over the years in so many different ways. It's a fantastic tune, and what's brilliant about it is that having played the tune you can then vary it as much as you like. So this is basically a theme and variations. Alex is going to play the theme at the start, and then the rest of the piece is going to be variations upon that fantastic theme. You'd have thought that having shown 4 trumpets, that would be quite enough, but we have just had one new addition to our instrument family in this house. So Alex is going to play that. Oh, he's going to show you. There you are. A melodica. So we thought we'd feature the melodica as well, just to finish off in this final piece. Thank you so much for coming to our concert today. It's really nice to share it with you, and hope to see you again soon.
Thank you so much for tuning into Royal Albert Home. My name is Craig Hassel. I'm the Chief Executive of the Royal Albert Hall, which sadly has had to close its doors for the first time since the Blitz. So while we can't welcome you to the hall, we can share these concerts with you from artists' homes to yours. If you are able to donate even the fraction of a price of a ticket, you'll be helping us look after our staff and look after our beautiful building during this lockdown. Please simply text Albert to 70490 to donate £5 or donate any amount at all online at royalalberthall.com. Thank you.